change. That means in America, we want to influence the direction of change. That's what we want to do. And in the Muslim countries, we might want to see what, let's call it Islam, like, not all the laws would be Islamic and everything, but it wouldn't be nobody standing on the corner like in Saudi Arabia beating you to make you pray, right? Everything would be according to Allah and His Messenger, but it would be more time for our countries to evolve into true Islam. Imagine, you can't find one country, you might find a couple that are pretty close, but you go Africa, Middle East, who's practicing Islam? Who's practicing Islam according to the Sunnah of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Not rituals. Everybody, you hear the adhan in every Muslim country 5 times a day, no problem. But how many in their heart? How many in their social and political relations? How many kings are ruling over people? Why can one Muslim, the richest Muslim country in the Arab world, assault and kill and murder the people in the poor, their neighbor, who's the poorest country in the Muslim world? How is that possible? When your neighbor, Hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said about Allah, I thought Allah was going to keep reminding me about my neighbor until He was going to make them part of their inheritance. That's a hadith. But Prophet ﷺ thought, hey, if there's 1 or 2 more things Allah say on neighbor, if your neighbor is hungry, you got to add some water to your stew and stir it up real good and take it to him. If your neighbor, remember what we went through when we deal with hosting and all of that? People come visit you, you got to give them the best place. If it's one heater in the house and it's cold, you got to put the heater in there, right? A gas, all of that stuff. How many of the people do that? Okay, we're going to speed up a little bit. What's going on today? If what we said is true, which we believe is true when we talked about identity, what was going on in our environment, A, if that's true, B, it means that a lot of that stuff is manufactured. Manufactured. In other words, everything that's happened to us, we feel is manufactured by the system. A lot of things in the world that we see clearly, that's why if they say it's blacks dying by this coronavirus and Latinos, that means it might be heavy elements of population control. I know one thing, Iran started on March 15th. It's March, of course. They said, they started having military drills and cleaning and all of that stuff because they said, we don't know whether this is an attack, a biological attack or what. See, over here, we hear one part of the news, but the rest of the world, hey, they're thinking about something else. They said, oh, and I want you to think about America. If black people and Latinos, the 2 biggest minorities in America, right, wake up and realize that they on Front Street and America hates them and always hate them. It hate black people because they brought us over here to work as slaves. No problem. They stole, 55% of one country, Mexico, was stolen. California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Colorado, Nevada, all of that was in Mexico del Norte. That was northern Mexico. And in the Mexican War, the Americans stole that from them. Why? Because of manifest destiny. The vision of America being a two-ocean power. Right? They used to have a picture of a guy in a sombrero, a Mexican taking a snooze. That's supposed to be a lazy person. The most unlaziest person in America is Mexicans. The hardest working people in the United States, picking all of that fruit, every drop of that fruit we ate. We Negroes won't do it anymore. You can't drag them out of the penitentiary to go have them pick. They got all kind of spray on the grapes, right? Yeah. Negroes ain't gonna do that. About 40 something. No, it was 50. It was way more than 50 years ago. It was about 1962. There's a bus that comes to Oakland and people go out picking, as they call it. I was unemployed. So you give the bus driver $2. He takes you out. At that time, he was picking peas. He picked a basket full of peas. A big basket full of peas was 13 cents. Shoot, I said, that's it for this. One day, I never went again. All of that work, the Mexicans were loading up. Loading up. Because it was okay. But for a Negro, why do you think we left the South? We left Dixie down there working in that hot sun for nothing and chopping cotton and picking cotton and all of that. We didn't go to California for that. This is the point. If that stuff is true, which it is, then we have to look at this, the environmental situation as manufactured. A lot of stuff that's happening is manufactured. If blacks have been free for 160, 70 years, and they're still shooting us down like dogs, right? If the court system, right? If the court system, all the court systems are anti-black, anti-Latino, anti-everything, like that. Okay. All the gains, Martin Luther King and all those people in the 60s, how long had they been? Long gone. They flew away like a bird. Why? Because the people were not diligent. See, organizations have a type of recovery in them. You hit them, you knock them down, they got organization. They put things back together, they come back with a plan. You look up 10 or 15 years later, they're back on their feet. But people that are unorganized, they mobilize to make change. Injustice, injustice, injustice. Then after they mobilize and they get some surface justice, they go back home and go to sleep. But the system that they was working against never sleep. So you look up and they got Bakke case, they got this case, they got that case in the Supreme Court. You look up in 10 years, this is all. It's illegal. You're just denying us our rights by having Negroes come here, and and da-da-da-da. And guess what? Eventually, the court agrees with it. The environment, then, we'll leave it at, a lot of it is manufactured. We can easily agree that when we see the environment we live in, but there's a lot of it that's, although it's true, it's a combination of manufactured and not so manufactured. You know what I mean? The period that we're going through right now, instead of going back to California last couple of months ago, is a small rewrite. That's what it is. Let's call it a rewrite. Not in our overall plan, because remember, no matter what you say, we have been headed in the same direction for over 40 years. Same direction. The only thing is where do you put, what is the priority, you know, for right now? And where do you put that? In what order? Okay. One of the last things I wanted to say was identify and clarify. Identify what all of this means, and then clarify our position. That's all it is. So that's why we're here now instead of in California. And then Allah keeps arranging it. Oh, we're just working on the roof, and da-da-da-da-da, just for a little while, and then we're going to California, and then Allah keeps. Pretty soon, you look up and you say, Allah kept us here for a reason. To be here during this recent period, to identify our position in all of this, to identify how this affects the whole world, right? This is the biggest event in modern history of this century, for sure. This is what's going on now in the world. We don't know whether it's totally manufactured by the system or partially manufactured. Partial manufacturing means that the system can set out something and then it gets out of hand. Right, yeah. You see, a lot of things that they do, remember, they may think they're God, but they're not Allah. And they may have something that they got in store for me or you or others, and it gets out of hand. Even when their time, when the conclusion is coming, no matter what their plan was. Remember, Allah says in Quran, وَمَكَّرُوا وَمَكَّرُوا اللَّهُ اللَّهُ خَيْرُ مَاكِرِينَ. They have a plan. They have a scheme. Pharaoh had a plan. All those empires had a scheme, a plan. But Allah is the best of planners. And this is what we rest on. We don't have to have a perfect clarification. What we want to do is put things as much as humanly possible. But we don't want to violate the rule of tafweed. Remember, tafweed and tawakkul. We've been talking about this. Tawakkul and tafweed are very close. They both mean to trust in Allah. But we evolve to a level of, now this is what we're thinking, that we're using tafweed. Because in tawakkul, you make your plan and you do go through these processes, then hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. We trust in Allah and Allah is sufficient. Tafweed is like when Musa says, I entrust my affair to Allah. Tafweed. I trust my affair to Allah. That's what we're doing now. So we're not sitting here studying up, well, I'm going back to California next week. We don't have no. We're cruising. Why? Because Allah is in charge. And we entrust our affair to Allah. And I'll close with this. It ain't no way in the world, nobody could have lasted 50 years fighting boss man and it not be Allah got him covered. Why? Because ain't nobody else did it. Nobody else, if you find somebody, I just want their name, I want to go visit them, and not shake their hand, but just say, it's nice to know you. I want to find them, and I want to see the person, or the people, or the group, or the organization that have faced boss man face to face, let's say 40 years. Leave off the 40 years, 4 decades. And a lot of them pulled them through so many. I just tell you what, you know, I think it was back in '84, I was going to sleep and then I kept picking up on funny stuff in the environment. And I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is. At the same time, you can read this in history, the Russian embassy, the Russians had built-in microwave apparatuses in the U.S. embassy in Moscow, and was making all the Americans sick. So I said, this is funny. So I just did something. I turned the radio on, and I left it on all night, and all that went away. That was in 1984. That's why if you ask anybody to come into a house or the masjid, the radio was always on. It's just an old habit. But the radio, in those days, you could, at nighttime, you'd pick up BBC, you'd pick up all the world news. All the news that was real, it would come on late at night. But it wouldn't, in the morning news over here, you wouldn't get that. But all the news that was genuine, or even close to real, all the lectures, all the talks, all the came on late at night. I developed the ability to listen to the news and tell where they was going up until today. Right now. Because you develop, it's a long story. But anyway, this tafweed, entrusting our affairs to Allah, have been going on a long time. We're thankful to Allah. We know no one could get anywhere close to what we're doing, or no one would even have the desire. Oh, you got a car, you have a flat. After you have 50 flats, right? Pretty soon you say, I'm walking, I ain't going out, right? Or if they destroy your buildings that you build, right? You say, I'm not going to do anything on the more buildings. They try to condition you, right, to where you don't want to build and move and stand up anymore. That haven't worked with us. It haven't worked at all, and it ain't gonna work. It's just not gonna work. Okay. And I'll close with this. Identify and clarify. Identify the true situation. What's manufactured and what's a combination of true and manufactured. And figure out all of that and try to put ourselves into that. The last thing I'd like to say is, when something happens, remember the rule. Who have a history of doing this before? Who have the ability, like if you look at it 9/11, who have the history of doing something like that? Why, it's the Zionists and the Americans. Who have the ability? Only the Americans had the ability to close down their whole show. Nobody else had that ability. Who would gain? The Zionists and the Americans would gain. So, I thank you very much. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. Are there any questions or anyone?
Yeah, someone did ask, or someone kind of asked for your input, talking about, identifying things and things of that nature. They asked, is the Trump group really applying herd immunity in America rather than seeking a cure for the virus,
Are they looking for a cure? If you look at Donald Trump, if you thought just Donald Trump, since they mentioned,
Yeah.
you would think Donald Trump is pro-virus, just right? But he tell everybody the man is the biggest liar and forgetter. He lies so bad, it's just insane. So if you looked at him, he would be pro-virus. Why? He said last month, don't worry about a thing. This thing will be over in a week. It's going. It ain't no. And then everything that the doctors sitting there telling him, I give them doctors a lot of credit because they put up with it, and I imagine that their consciousness is saying, we'll put up with this guy because if we're out, he'll just burn the whole place down.
Right.
Right? He'll go around with a virus machine and spray it on everybody. Right? But then if you look at the economy, they had 6 million people today sign up for unemployment. So that means there's 16.5 million people. But the stock market still went up. I realized that in 1987. In 1987, there was a stock market crash, and that was war in the Gulf between Iran and Iraq. And when that war was over, I saw the stock market going up, but I didn't see any production. Remember, they were sending everything to Japan. Japan was getting big. Later on, everything was going to China, right? And so I said, man, how can the stock market go up, without nothing being produced except the stock market, where you could see a perfect, everything that's going on in the economy is false. When you study economics, the Fed can give away money, all the money they want. And it's not real. One of the scientific doctors, so